really is the core of it. And so we'll be doing, as I said, a high-level kind of review of that capability. It's part of what we call our knowledge series. So we're kind of constantly doing these types of webinars and these types of events. So part of those the knowledge series is these webinars on different topics that we do. The other part of it is the training and education that we offer. So we have classes that we conduct here at xTuple. The next one coming up is in February, the week of February 3rd, and then there's another one in March that's more advanced. So the implementing and managing xTuple class is the one that's coming up in February, and then the Power User class is coming in March, and then there's a project management or managing xTuple projects oriented class, which is a distance learning class that's coming up as well. You can see some of the Knowledge Series webinar topics that we've had over the years that we've been doing this. We'll be in 2014 changing that up a little bit and having some more focused webinars that concentrate on a smaller subset of a particular functional area inside the application. We tend to make these kind of broad so that you can get a broader appreciation of something like accounting. In the future, we'll do something a little bit more narrow, like maybe collections within AR or cash application within AR. And they might even be a little shorter, but they'll be more focused. We know people use some of these as training classes, and that's okay. We recommend, though, that you do consider training if you're going to be implementing the software, because I just don't go into the depth that they do in the class. Again, my objective is to give you a high-level overview. I'm going to talk just a little bit about xTuple and a little bit about what I'm going to show, and then dive right into the product. I don't want to spend too much time doing this. If you're interested, we do a general overview webinar, and as Scott said, we put all of our webinars up on on our YouTube channel and on our video page on the website. So if you want to get kind of a general overview of xTuple, a general overview of everything that ERP does, you can do that. And that will have more navigation, that kind of stuff. I'm not going to do that. I'm trying to get right into the product. I know a lot of you are. So if you've been to the xTuple webpage, you probably get that we've got a number of different products, right? You can kind of think of these as small, medium, and large and extra large versions of the same product, because at the far left, Postbooks, that's the core of all of the application, right? So you start with Postbooks and you add on additional capabilities to get to the other versions of the software. And if you're interested in kind of understanding what's in the different versions and what differentiates them, there's a great page on the website that is xtuple.com/comparison, and it will tell you the differences. Really, from an accounting perspective, everything that is in the Postbooks edition is in all of the other editions. So if the general ledger is the same across all versions. Accounts payable, accounts receivable, the same. In the commercial editions of the software, or starting with the standard edition and above, you do get a multi-company consolidation capability included with the software as well. Postbooks is really single-oriented, singularity-oriented. So, but from an accounting perspective, generally they're going to operate the same. So what I'm going to talk about today applies to whatever xTuple version you might be looking at or might actually be using now. From a technology perspective today, I'm going to be showing the software on a Mac. The application runs great cross-platform. It runs on Mac, it runs on Windows, runs on Linux. We've always done that across many platforms. Over the last couple of years, we've been rolling out, well, I should say about the last year, we've started to roll out the application functional area by functional area available in a browser as well. So you can get it, again, on any platform on a browser, including mobile platforms too. So the accounting isn't there yet in the browser, but it will be in 2014. You'll see that. But functionality like CRM, customer relationship management, coding, all of that is in there for your kind of mobile Salesforce that you might have or might want. And then from a kind of a where is it hosted, and do I have to manage the server, and is this in a cloud kind of, that really is up to you. So I'm going to be demoing the software today on a local server here, but you could be implementing the software, having it hosted somewhere else. It could be, you could use our cloud service. We do provide a cloud service so that we manage everything for you, the software and the server, and all you have to do is kind of access it remotely. So any and all of those are available. It doesn't change how you access the software, what rights you have to use the software and get to the software. It's just really your choice and your preference, and we've tried to kind of do that. More information like this you can find on the xTuple websites. If you go to xtuple.com and xtuple.org, you'll see lots of really good information out there on the company, on the product. We've got a terrific e-commerce offering that's available, completely integrated orders online, and you can see them in your financial results that we'll be looking at. If you have customers that you want to be able to take orders online from and then bill them on account or by invoice, you can do that as well. Again, great information out there on both of our websites, xtuple.com and xtuple.org. All right. We're now. Do we need to do a poll question before I do that, Scott, or not yet?
Let's go ahead and just get going, I guess, in the application, and then go to one after that.
Let's dive into the software now, but if you want your CPE credits, because you got to participate in that poll. All right, so what we're looking at here is the software kind of in the Mac native version of the application. That's where I'll be demoing it today. If you're using it on a Windows computer, it's going to functionally look exactly the same. Style-wise, it looks a little bit different on Windows than it looks on Mac. It looks a little different on Windows 90 or Windows XP than it does on Windows 8. But again, functionally, it's the same application. Works the same. The page you're looking at here is what we call the welcome page. If you've been into xTuple before, maybe in the past, and this looks a little bit different, it's because we're changing it up all the time. What's in these blocks might change from month to month or even week to week sometimes, depending on the content. It's where you can find out what the next webinar is and what the training classes that are coming up are, and any programs that we might have going on, like programs around the xTuple e-commerce solution is out there. You can also kind of keep track of what's going on with xTuple from our Twitter feed. But you do your main navigating down the left-hand side here. We call each of these icons top from CR accounting, which will be today. One quick note here: I'll spend most of the time on the accounting desktop, but there is an add-on module that's available. It's a financials-oriented add-on module. It's the asset management add-on, and that's available kind of in the same model that xTuple has, where there is a free version, which is Postbooks of xTuple, and then we have premium versions or paid commercial software applications as well. The fixed asset suite has something similar. So there's a free version of fixed assets if you just want to place a repository to track information about your assets and have a listing of your inside of all of your assets. You can do that. But then if you want to do a little bit more with your assets, for instance, integrate your fixed assets to the financials so that you can run depreciation on a periodic basis, monthly or quarterly, however you do it, you can set that up in the application. That is one of the add-on features to fixed assets, so that you can count. There's another one for track maintenance, to track all the maintenance that you've ever done on your assets. Work on assets, you can do that as well with fixed. So that's kind of its desktop here under asset management. Occasionally we'll do a webinar just on fixed assets, so if you're interested in that, there's one out there on fixed assets itself if you wanted to dig more into that, and we'll probably have one in 2014 specifically on fixed assets. But let's get back to the accounting desktop. I want to start at a real high level and talk about how you're doing the, or how you can do your chart of accounts. So in the application itself, you've got some flexibility with how you set up your chart of accounts. We offer up a sample chart of accounts if you'd like to use that, but you don't have to. So you can go into accounting setup here, and I can get my, define how I want my general ledger chart of account structure, my chart of account or my general ledger account numbering structure defined. So you can say, even if you're only using Postbooks, you can post things to different companies here. You just can't do a consolidation inside of Postbooks. But you can still define whether you want to have a company segment or not. You can define whether you want to have a profit center or business unit segment or not. You are going to have a main number. That's the natural account number, right? Can decide whether or not you want to use sub-accounts. And so there's kind of the rough structure of the general ledger number, right? You've got 4 segments. Those segments can be up to 10 digits each. So general ledger account number could be 40 digits long if you wanted it to be broken up into 4 segments. But it does have 4 segments. So just kind of at a high level, that's how you set it up. And then how you set it up really kind of depends on how you want to report, right? I mean, so typically people either have business units that they report on or they don't, or they have different companies that they report on or they don't. And it really typically will go to, well, how do I want my financial reports to look? And that's really what of your, and then once you've got, you can define your financial statements, and it's very easy to run your financial statements once you've got your financial statements in there. You can go to View Financial Report, a financial report that we have provided, or you can create a new one on your own, or copy ours and do a variation of that. But I can go into the income statement here, a trend, months, and maybe I'll look at 2 months here. I'll look at this month, and I'll look at last month, and if I now real time, what's happening is the system is going out and looking at accounts. It's going and looking at all the transactions that have had building income statement for November and December. And if it looks like it was a whole lot better than November, I could want to know why, perhaps, or my CPA know why. CPA acts direct access to part of it. They could go in and they could look at that number. They hover over it. They could right-click, and they might say, I want to see the actual transactions behind that. So you can drill down into that specific number, and you can see the transactions here. It looks like that was just one sale, and if I wanted to find out what that sale was all about, I can actually open the invoice here. So I can go to line items. I can drill all the way back down to the source of the transaction and what items I sold or services I provided from my financial statement. So that's pretty powerful, and that's a great way that we do financial reporting inside the application. That's not the only kind of reporting that's in there, though, as well, right? I mean, your financial reporting is really geared around, you know, the structure of your business and how you want to report, how you have to report to various interested parties like your bank or your investors. They might have different kinds of reporting requirements. Well, you can define those financial statements based on what those interested parties want to see. You know, maybe I need to give my investors a look at the financials one way, and my bank needs to see it another way. Well, you can create financial reports that are specifically geared for that. And then operationally running the business, you might have other kinds of reports that you have out there, right? I might want to see all my general ledger transactions for the month of. I can pull up a list here. It's called General Ledger Trends. This is a report. And if I say 12-1 here, and I hit the query button, now I'm looking at all the general ledger transactions that have transpired over the month of December here. And again, I've got that ability, that same ability that I had before to drill into these transactions. This is a work order one. This is a sales order. I can drill into that. I can look at the shipment. I can look at production information about a work order if I'm a manufacturing-oriented company and I've got, WIP type issues and I want to know more about this specific transaction. I can drill all the way into that. So this is an example of this report. I could preview it. I can get, see what the paper version would look like, so I can see that easily. I can print it too. I can also, if I've got a product, a little add-on product that we've got in the application called Connect, I can schedule this report to show up on my desk. Maybe I want to send it to myself and the CPA at the end of every month, this particular report. So I can schedule, and I can say to, and I can say here, and here's the transaction report, and I can particular time. I can have, and if I say schedule, then that Connect tool will have that happen automatically. So that will happen in the background. And if I've set it up to say, hey, I want this to recur every month or every day, you can do that. And that's all over the application with reporting. And then one final thing on reporting that I want to show is anytime you're looking at a list like this, like a list of general ledger transactions, or your financial report for that matter, I can highlight any row, I can right-click, and I get this option down here, Copy to Clipboard, which means I can copy what I'm on right now to this cell, but I can also say All, and if I do All, then I'm suddenly able to screen there quickly a spreadsheet. So how often do you looking at information? Really want it in paper, and I don't just want it there in the application. I want to do some things with it. So I can dump it very quickly into There's come over, and now I formulas down the bottom. It pulled everything that was in this screen here. All right, I'm going to spend payables and receivables now. Is it questions, Scott? Yes, no, maybe?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Here we go. The fixed asset package is only available in the commercial editions, true or false?
These are really hard questions, Scott.
Okay. And I'm going to close it. And everybody got that right, false. The fixed asset package is available in Postbooks, and you can find that on our website.
Well, great. And I don't even know that I mentioned that it was available for all of the versions. I mentioned it was an add-on product that you could add in, but absolutely you're right, Scott, and everybody out there apparently already knows or was paying attention that it's something that can be added into Postbooks. It can be added into the manufacturing edition, whichever version you're on. Start with the free and use the commercial or the advanced features in fixed assets, or jump right into it if you want to start tracking depreciation and maintenance from day one. That's what you want to do. All right, well, let's spend a little bit of time looking at kind of payables and receivables here. So, most of the time when you're working with an accounting system, it's going to be accounts payable, accounts receivable, and general ledger. We've already spent time in the general ledger. General ledger is kind of the end repository, right, in the ERP system. It's where everything happens. In the xTuple ERP system, it's a real-time system, so general ledger transactions are getting posted whenever anything happens. So when you ship a product, when you receive a product, when you post an invoice, transactions real-time happen in the general ledger. So that's really interesting, and it's an important thing to note. Lots of people who might be using older systems might have experienced scenarios where things don't get put into the general ledger till the end of the day, or a couple of times a day or something like that. Ours does happen real time. Same thing for the cause and effect of I created an invoice, now I've got an AR record. I created a purchase order, or I received goods from a purchase order that I had out there, now I've got a payable. Or I entered a vendor's invoice for office supplies, now I have a payable out there. So that whole cause and effect, that's all happening real time as well. So from a receivables perspective, when you look at the accounting desktop here, we're trying to provide a high-level view of kind of everything, right? So you can see payables. Well, at first glance here, you can even see the age. As soon as I get here, I'm bored of, well, what's in aging right now? So I can see what's in the most current. I can see what's 30 days. I can see 30 to 60 and out to 90. I can get 90 plus, and if I'm worried about that, I can right-click. I can, what's up with that? I can open it up, and I can see what is the source of that transaction here. Customer that's given us a big here, and we need attention to that, or like that. Or maybe this receivable, my current receivables. Maybe I'm very interested in closely monitoring my cash flow, so I can highlight that, I can right-click, and I can open it up. So what's meant, these little windows here are meant to just kind of show you, at a quick glance, the application or kind of what the aging looks like. If you want a more detailed view of the aging, I can go into Payables and Payables here and get a view thing that's out there in the 0, 30, 60, 90. I guess I don't have anything current there. So I go into receivables, and I can get a view here, and I can see what's in the most current. And just like I could on that little dashboard view of the world, I can go into any of these line items. I can right-click. I can view the item here. I can open it up, and I can get more information about it. That's kind of a running theme here that you can keep drilling down. Just about every place that you are in the application, if you see a line item and you want to know more about it, you can highlight, you can right-click, and you can say, show me more. So I want to see that receivable, or maybe I want to print this one out, or maybe this customer is disputing it, so now I've got an issue with this customer that I have to manage. We provide great tools for that, too, because xTuple has an integrated CRM system. We've got an incident management system for tracking issues that resolve or that evolve with your customer relationships. Some of those happen from the financials, right? If I've got an issue with a customer, if I've got an issue with the vendor, right from here I can launch a new incident, and I've created a category of what it is. So automatically when I launch it out of AR, it comes up as a dunning category. It notes the customer, the issue that I'm dealing with here. I did that on a deposit. Related to that, I can assign tasks to follow up, or I want to follow up with shipping, so I can have set tasks and reminders to myself. Maybe the customer says, oh, I promise I will pay on Tuesday. Well, you can call Monday and say, hey, just reminding you, or you can set a little reminder for yourself for Wednesday to say, hey, just wanted to see if that check went out yesterday like you promised. So there's some nice tools in there for helping you to manage cash, manage issues, and manage collections out there as well. So I can go into any of these, and I can get about any. So if I wanted to get, find out about this particular one here, I can see the outstanding AR for this customer. If I wanted to then do, maybe they're saying, okay, I'll now credit cards. Sure, because our application does do. Maybe have it turned on here, but you've got the ability to cards right from inside the app. What's the can go out and back in and do all that. We've got that integration card companies or the credit card already. So that's what you've got, and you've got another set of tools over in Payables Aging if I wanted to see the different payables that were out there. Maybe this one's, I'm a little concerned about this one. I can drill, I can open up, I can find out what it's all about if I want the voucher that I originally put for that in. I can view it. The idea here is that everything is integrated. So some that you notes that you put in around it, they will flow with the transaction. So you'll see it all the way into and through to the general ledger. All right. So then you get a high-level view of what's going on with payables and receivables from aging, right? And then kind of the next level down is, hey, I'm somebody that every day I'm in receivables. I'm the AR manager. So you might kind of spend your day on what we call the AR Workbench. So the AR Workbench is really receivable activity applications. And this is all AR activity that's going on right now. I can see everything that's out there. I can see the deposits. I can see the invoices. I can look for debits, credits, or both as I am now. I can specific kind of do it that way, or I can look for all customers. I could look at all dates, or I could do a range, or in between two dates, or an as of kind of date. I can go back. I can look at all of that. And then once I'm here, I can highlight a row. Remember, I can right-click, and I can different options are. So maybe the customer says, well, you know, I don't have that invoice anymore. Maybe you could send me a copy of it? Sure. So right from here, I can send it and take a look at it. This customer actually has, we've got them set up that they get email invoices as well, so I can automatically email it to them. It's got an attachment that will go out with the customer. The attachment will be a PDF, and that will go off to the customer. So here's the invoice. I don't have it set up all that fancy, but you can have your own logo in here for an invoice, so you can really doctor these up. An invoice is a really good example of a form. And a form is created using the report writer that comes with the application, so you got a lot of flexibility with how do I want it to look? How do I need it to look? I need it to look exactly like it is now. Well, we can do that. If you've got pre-printed forms that you want to kind of match up the text that comes out of this to, we can do that too. Or we can help with that. You can do that. So we've got all of that out. So we'll go to accounts payable now, and you've got kind of workbench concept in accounts payable. So I've got an ability to dig into, you know, what purchase orders are out there that I need to then enter information about, or what invoices do I have? Maybe I'm the accounts payable manager. I have a stack of invoices. I've got to get them in the system. Maybe all I need to really do is tie them to the outstanding purchase orders that are out there. So if it's tied to an order that's already in the system, I can say new, and I can go look for purchase orders that are out there and just bring in a purchase order and run through a whole process. So a voucher is the vendor invoice, so I can create that voucher. I can also, if I want to, do a new miscellaneous voucher or vendor invoice, maybe office supplies or rent or something like that, lease payments, so you can set up, you know, just kind of an ad hoc invoice in there as well. So you can enter in the vouchers or the invoices. You can review the payments. Who are we going to pay? How much are we going to pay? Which one should we pay? Maybe we'll select all the ones that are eligible for discounts and we'll pay those. But check the credits that might be outstanding. We can look at the selections that are out there. Who have we decided we're going to pay? And then we can cut checks. So we can go through that whole process of entering the vendor invoice and cutting the check all in one screen. Or if you wanted to and you needed to, maybe you're the type of organization where I've got one person, I just want that person to enter the invoices. That's all he does. is enter vendor invoices. The person who pays them is somebody else. I want to split that off into two different functions. You can do that. But very often, you know, in some of the customers that we work with, it's one person that's kind of doing that whole cycle. So you can do it all in one screen here on the Payables Workbench. You can also break it up into separate tasks if you want. That kind of leads to, you know, the point of security and privilege settings in the application. So depending on what you want to grant somebody access to or what you want to prevent them from seeing, you can set that up either by a role. So maybe you have AR, you know, clerk as a role, and whenever you just need to enter that individual in the system and assign them that role, and they've got all the security settings that they need. So you've got, you know, an ability to set it up more broadly, you know, one role, or you can get it down to the individual. This person can see this level of detail in the financials. That's the idea there. All right. Have another poll question, Scott? Is it a good time for a poll question now, or should we keep going?
Have we gone over reporting yet? Maybe we should do that and then do a poll question.
We did. At the beginning, I did the reporting where I talked about the financial reports and then the other kinds of reports and, you know, the exporting to Excel and all that.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and do one then. What report options are available in xTuple, the financial report engine, built-in report writer, OpenRPT, export to Excel, or all of the above? Okay. And everybody got that right, all of the above. I think we went into all the different options for reporting in xTuple.
Very good, everybody. Okay, so that's kind of the broad parts of here, you know, from the financial perspective. So we kind of spent time really on two what we call desktops, right? The accounting desktop and the asset management desktop. Those are the two that are out there. And if you kind of go through the different desktops, you can see some of the different capabilities inside of xTuple and xTuple. I've got an icon that you might not have in your environment or you might not have seen before, which is what we call the Quickstart Wizard, which allows you to kind of walk through the setup of the application. It walks you through the things that you need to have in the system before you can really start using it. So it's kind of a nice little add-on that's available so that you can, you know, from an accounting module, account number to work, enter companies, enter profit centers, enter sub-accounts. So you can go right in here from this tool, this Quickstart Wizard is what we call it, and kind of walk through the different steps of entering the base data that you need in order to get going. So those are really handy tools, but they're not everything, right? The desktops are great for, you know, I'm an accounting person. I come in, I can see, I can understand what I should be doing or the areas that I'm most concerned with. I can see, you know, bank reconciliation, and I can create a budget for myself or for the company. So all of those tools are very evident here on the desk. But across the top of the application, we also have this menu system too, which provides more information. So the desktop is meant to be like the favorites. These are the things that people use the most of in any functional area inside the application. But we do have this menu navigation system as well that allows for more, because there are, you know, to Scott's point a little bit earlier, there are more reports, right? So if we go into Accounts Receivable, look at all these reports. If I go into Accounts Payable, look at all these reports. If I go into Fixed Assets, there's a whole series of reports. If I go into Taxes, there's a whole series of, or there's a tax history report as well. So the idea is that not everything that you need is going to be on the desktop. So, look for what you need on the desktop first, and then you can kind of navigate through the menu system as well to investigate what else is up there. If you're at the stage where you're just starting to investigate the application, want to understand a little bit more about it. As Scott says, if you're interested in learning more about it, engaging with us or one of our partners, we have a terrific network of partners, both domestically and internationally. And so there's a high likelihood that we have somebody near you that we can connect you with or work with you with in order to get you more information, get you some help in setting up, get you some training. Any and all of those things are things that we can help with. If you send us a note to sales@xtuple.com, we'd be happy to do that. So I think there are a few questions. If there's maybe one final poll question, we'll do the last poll question, and then we'll answer any outstanding questions. If you have a question, you can just toss it in the question section of your GoToWebinar console. We'll get to those. And if you think of one later, again, you can just send it to sales@xtuple.com. Scott?
Yeah, so here, let's do our last poll question. How can I evaluate xTuple to run my business? Apply for a free trial, download Postbooks off Sourceforge, or all of the above? Okay. And again, everybody got that right. Both you can apply for a free trial of our Enterprise Edition hosted in the cloud, which you get the mobile web client and the classic desktop, or you can go to sourceforge.net and download the free and open source Postbooks Edition. So let's go on to any questions that we've had. And one of the questions was, is there a prerequisite for this webinar? And the answer was no to that. Next question is this a standard cost or actual cost system?
Could be either. So from a manufacturing perspective, it kind of depends on your manufacturing style, and frankly, some of our customers kind of have a mix, right? So if you've got a more standard, if you're using it in a manufacturing environment and you've got standard products and you want to have standard costs because you kind of want to monitor your business from the standards that you've set for yourself or that you've kind of developed over time, you can use standard cost and manage the business with variances. On the other hand, we do have the ability to set up items. When you create an item, you define what kind of costing you want to use. So you can say, I want this to be a standard cost item. You can also say, I want this to be an average cost item. In distribution, non-manufacturing environments, a lot of times people would prefer to use an average cost method. And then if you're in the kind of environment where maybe you're a little bit more make to order and there's a lot of variations, or you're job oriented, you can set an item to be an actual cost, or what we call a job costed item. And then the cost of goods sold comes directly from the materials and directly from the labor in that production order. So the answer is could be either or both.
How do you get the monitored account at the bottom of your screen?
People ask that question. I'm surprised it doesn't. Maybe it depends on the database that you start with. Because if you start with the Quickstart database, they're here. But you get them up here at the top. I don't know if everybody can see that, but you got the menu options across the top. There's one that says Window. And if you go under Window and go to Desktop, there's different for showing different widgets, right? So I can see payables. Maybe I don't want to see payables. Well, I want to see receivables, and then I want to see monitored accounts. I could also see bank accounts here, so I can add that, so I can see the balance in my bank accounts. And then once you've selected monitored accounts, you can go down here to this wheel, this little gear, set preferences, and you can ones do I want to see? Maybe if I am a manufacturer, maybe I want to see that, and material usage variance. Those are really important to me. So I want to know when there's a balance in those accounts, or I want to see what the balance in those accounts are, so you can see that. And these will kind of get updated real time as you're going through transactions.
Okay. Will there be a recording of this webinar?
Yes.
And the answer to that is yes. We will put this on our YouTube page shortly after the webinar.
Okay.
Next question. If we download Postfix from Sourceforge, does that include Postgres Sequel, or is that a separate download?
That's a separate download and install. So if you're going to kind of install the free Postbooks version of the application, you do have to kind of build it yourself a little bit, meaning you've got to go and get Postgres first, and we would recommend that. So go and get Postgres and install Postgres, and then you can install xTuple on top of that. And there's a great company. If you go to, if you look up Postgres, you go to postgressequel.org, or there's a great company out there that does a lot of support of the Postgres database called website as well. Get a Postgres installer.
Mm-hmm. Documentation on our side about how to get that set up, and we have a, as Wally talked about, a network of partners who do this all the time that can help get that installed. So we're happy to have that conversation. So I think that's all the questions.
Oh, good. Yeah, as Scott mentioned, xTuple.org, there's lots of good information out there that you can go to, developer-type information, admin and setup, as Scott said. So there is good documentation, but this is ERP. It pays to get somebody to help you with some of this stuff, just so you get it set up right the first time. There's not a lot of crazy complexity to running this application, and honestly, there's not a lot of crazy complexity to there are lots of options, and making good choices the first time you set it up really makes a difference in terms of, having it be very useful for you quickly and get you productive as quickly as possible.
Okay. That looks like the last.
Okay. Well, very good. Thanks, everybody, for attending here today. If you have any other questions,